Hello. Time for the show. I want to go back to bed. I'm still on the tail end of being sick. I feel fine. My throat's a little swollen, and apparently I slept 10 hours. Yeah, I went to bed at 8, and I slept the whole night. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Monday, January 6th, 2020. Still weird to say that. My name's Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. Wow. I had a great weekend. I hope you had a great weekend. What did I do? Well, let's see. What did I do? Um, Saturday, I went to the gym. Yesterday, I went to the gym and coached. Uh, Saturday night, ended up in Burlington, did some shopping, found. I've been looking for some new hiking boots. Because I love being outside. And none of my boots are really, they're not really appropriate as hiking boots. And the last time I went out, ended up with quite a blister. Well, I found a pair of hiking boots. Hiking boots, dinner. What else? Not a lot. It was kind of a lazy weekend. I worked yesterday. Did a few hours of work. Cleaned up the house. Just kind of chilled. Which was nice, because the last couple of weeks with the holidays have been crazy. Just good morning, Casper. I love holidays, right? I love spending time with people. I love, the excuse to not be as productive. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. Okay. But when holidays fall in the middle of the week, it kills the week. And I just feel like I lost 2 weeks. But what I did a lot of, including some of yesterday, is a lot of planning, a lot of projecting for 2020. Good morning, Frank. A lot of figuring out of stuff. What's 2020 going to hold? What am I going to continue to do? What am I going to not do? Because that's the game, right? Just keep figuring stuff out. Keep making good decisions. And, yeah. So, what else happened this weekend? Did I watch? I'm trying to think. Didn't watch anything of particular note. No, it was a pretty low-key weekend. So not much to say there. How about today? What's going on today? Well, there should be an episode out. Let's see. Let's fire up. Come on. Tablet. YouTube. Come on. There we go. Oh, yeah. Sensei Jenny. Today's episode 464 with Sensei Jenny Siu, who has been a supporter for quite a long time, along with her husband, Gabe. And Gabe is the force behind Martial Arts Radio Live, which will be tomorrow. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Eastern, Martial Arts Radio Live, so don't forget that. In fact, he's probably going to pop on and remind me to say that. Somehow he always does the Monday before. Anything else? What's going on today? Dinner with some friends. Depending on how I feel, go to the gym. Actually, I'll go to the gym regardless. The question is, based on how I feel. Gabe's here. Good morning, Gabe. Depending on how I feel, I adjust how hard I go. So like yesterday, my activity was trying out these new hiking boots. I went for a long walk, and they worked pretty well. Yeah, I need to move. I need to move every day, or I lose my mind. Especially if it's 2 days in a row, I just go crazy. I don't like it. So yeah, let's check out the questions. I know we got some questions. Frank wrote some questions in. I didn't see any from anybody else. Remember, that's the New Year's resolution for the show. I want to see questions from more people. Come on, back up. All right. Today, Monday, January 6th, is weigh-in day, and our questions are around weight and food and such. How will you be working off those extra holiday pounds? I'll be honest, I don't think I have any extra holiday pounds. I don't weigh myself. Not very often, anyway. I haven't weighed myself in months. And yeah, I'll save my answer on that part for when it comes up in question 3. How did I not gain weight over the holidays? Oh, I have a pretty good routine around movement, around food. My breakfast is pretty low calorie, and my metabolism is really good. I've spent the last couple of years building my metabolism. I continue to build my metabolism, and that means that I don't have to worry about it as much as some other people. Now, to be fair, I also did not go to 17 holiday parties and 8 different family functions where all of this food was heaped upon me. So it's a little bit easier for me. I had one family meal, and nobody gave me pie and chocolate and whatever. I did have one tin of cookies I took home from that, and I think I ate them all the next day. I don't do well with portioning food. I don't do well with restricting myself from food. When I buy ice cream, I buy lower calorie ice cream because I eat the whole pint regardless of what it is. It's about finding balance. Most of the time, I eat really, really well. And so to go off the rails a couple days here or there doesn't really impact me. I focus my fitness. The core of it is around building muscle through weight training. And muscle builds your metabolism. We've talked about this on the show. So I don't want to annoy anyone by going into it too much. But bottom line, if you're trying to lose weight, it's about weights. It's about resistance training. It's not about cardio. Cardio suppresses your metabolism. And yes, it will burn calories while you're doing it, but the overall effect is to slow your metabolism, and that's not good. Yeah. Next. This is a very important question. In considering nutrition advice, how do you separate good science from bad? My off-the-cuff response, that I want to make, is if someone's selling something, you can't trust their advice. But that's not entirely true, because I do know some people in the health and fitness space that sell books and workout programs and supplements that I consider to be very, very knowledgeable and very objective. So how do you separate fact from fiction? How do you separate the bro science, the information that's been passed around but doesn't really root in fact, or from the fake studies or whatever. How do you separate that? It's hard. It requires a lot of effort. Um, there are podcasts out there that have good information. There are newsletters, there are websites. Examine.com is a great place if you really want to check a specific claim. They're wonderful. What I'm trying to think of is if I was someone who, let's say, was getting into health, getting into fitness, getting into exercise, and I just didn't know where to start for getting the information, where would I go? Um, it's a great question. And I'm not sure that there's one source. One of the things that's been really helpful for me is I've kind of reprocessed a lot of information through this idea that the body is really good at adapting. So what are the adaptations that come when you do something? Um, Behind the scenes right now, we're developing a strength program that you can do at home with zero equipment, which to my knowledge has never been done before. People would say, oh, you don't need any gym equipment, but then they want you to have bands or some dumbbells or something. We're building one that literally actually requires nothing but a floor and a wall. And I haven't seen anybody's house that didn't have a floor or a wall. So you should have everything you need without spending money. I don't have a good answer for this. It requires a lot of time, a lot of research. And that's part of why I enjoy answering these questions, because I know people want the answers, but they don't want to put in the time to find the answers. And I put in a lot of time to find the answers because I find it personally interesting. And I have a lot of people around me who ask me these questions. And of course, in my role as CrossFit coach, I'm expected to know this stuff, or at least people come to me hoping I know this stuff. Here's a rule. Here's a rule that I use. If someone tells you that the solution to a problem is to buy something, it's probably not true. That's a good one. If the solution to you not putting on as much muscle as you want is to buy this protein powder, it's probably not true. The solution to not losing the amount of fat that you want, buy this pill, probably not true. Could those things help? Maybe, depending on what they are and why you're not putting on muscle or losing weight. But it's a much more complicated scenario. In fact, human metabolism is, from my understanding, the second most complicated process in the body behind brain function. We have very little understanding of how metabolism actually works at this point. So keep that in mind. And then the third question. In terms of weight loss, which measurement do you think is better, BMI or waist to hip ratio? So BMI stands for body mass index. And it's this idea that based on a certain height, the average healthy person would be of a certain weight range. I've never been a fan of the BMI. It has always told me I've been overweight. In fact, for my height, I'm pretty sure that the BMI wants me to be 125 pounds. I weigh 165 pounds. Based on those calculations, 40, that's 30% overweight. I would be creeping in on obese. And if you met me, you wouldn't call me obese. In fact, you probably wouldn't even call me overweight. When I look in the mirror, I don't consider myself overweight. Are there a couple pounds around my belly that I'm working on? Yeah, but So what do I feel is a better number? I'm actually not familiar with using hip to waist ratio for calculating whether or not someone is overweight or not. Body fat percentage. I mean, that's the one. That's the only one that I think is worth really looking at in that way. But of course, that's hard to do at home. There are bathroom scales that claim to do body fat percentage, but they're so horribly inaccurate that I don't even think they're worth using. Frank says BMI is primarily for sedentary folks. It's it's a number that more and more doctors are going away from because it there's so much individual variance. I mean, there are people who can be at the same height healthy with 30 to 40 pound swings. I mean, we've all known very thin people who just, that's just how they were. And we've all known people who were a bit heavier, and that's just how they were. And I've known plenty of people through martial arts and other, health and fitness sort of endeavors that you look at different body types and say, you know what? I wouldn't have expected based on the way they look that that person is in good shape, but they are. Of course, being in good shape is more than just, how you look and how you move, but I think you know where I'm going with this. I think the reason we look at things like the scale or body mass index or hip to waist ratio is it's something you can calculate yourself. And we have been conditioned for as long as I've been alive that you need to lose weight, you need to keep a scale at home, and you need to see how that method's going. Gabe says, according to the BMI, I've been obese since high school, even at the peak of my athleticism. I'm not a big fan of the scale. I think the scale gets people thinking about the wrong thing. For example, muscle weighs more than fat. And for most people, if they start lifting weights, they're going to put on a little bit of muscle before they lose body fat. And if you're tied to the scale, it's going to go up and you're going to freak out. And it's not a good idea. It's not a good idea to freak out because good things are actually happening. So when I'm coaching people, when I get people to look at, who they are, what their goals are, it's not about the scale. Let's focus on how you feel. Let's focus on your energy level. Let's focus on how you sleep. Let's focus on how your clothes fit. Let's focus on how you look naked in front of the mirror. All of those are better tests, but they don't seem as objective. So we tend to cast them aside. If any of your goals involve getting healthier physically, there are a lot of things that you can do. But the one that I would caution you from doing is using the scale. You know how you feel. And if you prioritize how you feel, how exercise makes you feel, and how you feel, the morning after you wake up, the morning after a day that you did something active. Do you feel good? Yeah. How do you feel when you eat these foods? Do you feel good, or do you feel like you need to go take a nap? And it's as simple as that sounds. If you just check in with yourself, if you're really honest about how things make you feel, that's the direction to go. And sometimes people will get impatient and they'll say, I really want to lose this weight. I want to get healthy, and I want to do it in 3 months or 6 months. Well, how long did it take you to get to where you are? If you're overweight, you didn't become overweight in 3 months. It's about establishing, or I shouldn't say it is, it should be about establishing better habits. And those better habits will take you in the direction you're looking to go. And if you're willing to let that happen slowly, you are more likely to establish good habits and stick with them. Crash diets and going hard, 7, 10, 15 times a week at the gym, it's not sustainable. And you burn out. I've seen people burn out from martial arts because they start doing it, they love it, and they train every class that they can, and then they go home and they train and they train, and then the moment they can't train that much, they stop training altogether. That's really sad. I did not take any before pictures, and I probably should have. I've lost, so a couple years ago, 2.5 years ago or so now, I weighed the heaviest I ever had. It was close to 180 pounds at just shy of 5'7". And my pants didn't fit well. And I wasn't feeling great about my body. I've been doing, I've always been active. I was in good health, but I wanted to make some changes. So what did I do? I made some shifts to the way I was handling my exercise. Um, Less CrossFit, more lifting weights, more traditional resistance training. And in the last 2.5 years, I'm down somewhere around 10 pounds. I check every few months. But that 10-pound shift includes putting on a lot of muscle. So I've probably put on 10 pounds of muscle and lost 10 pounds. So what does that mean? I lost about 20 pounds of body fat. Maybe 15. 15 pounds of body fat in 2 years? It doesn't sound like a lot. And honestly, it's not. But let's go back to that first question about my metabolism. How do I work off all the extra pounds over the holidays? I don't have to. Because the general underlying trends, going to the gym most days, trying to stay active, trying to be smart overall with my food, these create a foundation that work really well. How do you do this with martial arts? What's important to you about martial arts? Getting better. So how do you get better? You go to class. You go to class more often than you don't go to class. If you can make it 1 day a week, you go 1 day a week when you can. If you can't do that, work on a couple forms at home. We tend to neglect the small bits. We tend to look for these magic buttons and these big rocks to move around. But it's the little stuff that you do in between and frequently that have the most impact on your life. It's the snacks in between meals. It's the how much do you sit in a chair other than, how much are you sitting in a chair when you're not exercising? Right? It's that little stuff that really adds up the most. If you're familiar with our program, 2-Minute Martial Arts, that's why we designed it that way. Because everyone has 2 minutes a day, and there's a lot that you can do in 2 minutes. 2 minutes by itself isn't magical, but what about 2 minutes over a course of a month? It's 2 hours. What about 2 minutes over the course of a year? It's 24 hours. Most people go to class 2 to 3 hours a week. It's another 2 months of training. 2 minutes a day, every day is 8 weeks of 2 classes a week. It's a lot. It's a tremendous amount of additional training, right? If that's a positive way of looking at frequency. If you have a 300-calorie coffee from Starbucks every day, and if we use the formula, roughly 3,500 calories per pound, you're talking about, is that 1.5 pounds every 2 weeks? 3 pounds a month? 36 pounds a year? So if you're someone who has really, I'm thinking of this because I had it. What did I have? A peppermint mocha latte on Saturday. It was delicious. It was also 400 calories. Oh, I felt it. But once in a while, I treat myself because why not? But it's those little changes. How do you make little changes? You pick one and you do it until you don't have to think about it anymore, and then you do another. That's how you create habits. So, if the scale is important to you, I understand. But my encouragement to you is that while you are using the scale to guide yourself, you will pick something else to look at as well. Whether it's how your clothes fit, how you look in front of the mirror. You know, a really important one that people don't like to talk about because it's, well, it's not generally good things to talk about. How things move in the bathroom. I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. That's probably the single biggest indicator of health that you can determine for yourself. I'll leave you with all that. All right. So what's your homework today? We've talked about habits. We've talked about daily habits. We've talked about all these things. Your homework? Let me think about that for a moment. Stacy says, what is this mirror thing of which you speak? All right. Subscribe, turn on notifications, do all that if you haven't. Go listen to today's episode of Martial Arts Radio with Sensei Siu. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Martial Arts Radio Live on Facebook. Gabe's got a bunch of stuff brewing. There's a Facebook event, and we're talking about adding some stuff to the Martial Arts Radio page. So go get spun up on that. And if you haven't checked out or ordered a copy of the book, go get the book, the Martial Artist Handbook. Some of you are getting copies now that I just had more copies arrive. Some of you who help with things, just watch your mailbox. I don't have any good homework for you. It's almost a 30-minute episode. I rambled a lot, so I'll just let it go. Your homework is to have a good day. I hope you do. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Take care.